Will.
Hey, what's going on there, Kay? And guys, happy Friday to all of you. We start here in Los Angeles, where new Rams corner Jalen Ramsey practicing with his new teammates on Thursday. Ramsey wasn't limited. He was a full participant, so his back is now apparently just fine. Well, the injury focusing him to miss 2 games for the Jaguars, as we know. General Manager Les Snead calling the acquisition of Ramsey not just a short-term jolt, but one that can help long-term. Ramsey didn't seem too worried about the long-term or even the short-term here, which would involve facing Falcons receiver Julio Jones.
I think we're going to keep working. We got a couple more days to figure out. We're going to do what's smart for myself and the team. But I hope so. I hope I can go help and contribute to a win somehow, some way, whether it's limited or whatever. A couple plays, it don't matter.
So Ramsey could play, as could now former Rams corner Marcus Peters for the Ravens. Peters traded on Tuesday and went through his first practice in Baltimore on Thursday, and a new number, by the way. He told defensive coordinator Wink Martindale he'd tell him today if he was ready to go. Martindale saying, quote, "Just lie to me and tell me you are, and we're going to play you." That's one way to look at it, Wink. Most Saints fans would love to tell running back Alvin Kamara the same thing. Kamara missing his 2nd straight practice. He's been slowed by an ankle injury. He hasn't scored a touchdown in 5 of 6 games this season, although he's averaged 108.2 scrimmage yards per game this season, good for 6th in the NFL. And, of course, if he can't go, our guy Latavius Murray will shoulder the load, and if that's the case, he could potentially be a nice fantasy sleeper. So we'll keep an eye on Kamara's status for this weekend.
Yeah, you can't play Nick Chubb, no Christian McCaffrey this week. They're on bye, so I will have a couple running back sleepers to hold you over until week 8. Thank you so much, Will Subba. Let's talk about these Cowboys taking on the Eagles. It's your Sunday night matchup. Michelle Tafoya, Kristen Allen. It's been a couple of rough weeks for these Cowboys, losing 3 straight and a lot of injuries right now. There's questions heading into their key divisional matchup. Here's Jane Slater with more.
Okay, we started off the week without Cowboys having 6 of their starters ahead of this Eagles game, but on Thursday, some encouraging news out of Frisco. We saw offensive tackles Lel Collins and Tyron Smith back at practicing at least in some limited fashion. And then the bigger news of the day, Amari Cooper. Now, he told us that he had a quad injury last week. It was so bad that he wasn't able to walk after that Packers game on Monday. But by Wednesday, ahead of the Jets game, he started to feel better. But it was after that opening drive, he said it really began to hurt. And today he told me that the reason why he took himself out of the game was he thought he was hurting the team more than helping them. He says he's played through a lot of injuries in his career, but this one hurt more than most. Now, he says that he anticipates practicing today. And as the Cowboys are putting it, they'll see how these guys feel on Friday before making final determinations ahead of this Eagles game on Sunday night. Okay?
Thank you so much, Jane Slater. Let's go over X factors or reasons one team will win over the other. Hearing about Amari Cooper, whether or not he might suit up, you got to look at the benefit of having a guy like Michael Gallup enjoying a sophomore breakout. A lot of receivers in the league are Cortland Sutton, is G.J. Chark. Michael Gallup, though, is averaging 96.8 yards a game this season. Only Chris Godwin, the God, and Michael Thomas have averaged more on the year. This Eagles secondary also banged up, not performing, allowing a ton of yards. So for me, from a perspective of keeping up with potentially what Carson Wentz and these Eagles can do and just getting it done without their star wide receiver, they've allowed 6 100-yard wideouts through 6 weeks. I think I like him a little bit more than Brandon Cooks in fantasy this week, Kenny Golladay, and Will Fuller Schrags.
Yeah, and I think Gallup is going to play a huge role in this one. I also think the coach on the Eagles, who maybe doesn't get a lot of pub, is Jim Schwartz.
Talk about it.
Defensive coordinator. I know that team gave up 38 points last week in Minnesota. And
there he is.
A lot of Eagles fans are saying, what's going on with the D? I'd also say this. I know the Eagles organization views Carson Wentz as the best quarterback in the NFC East. And there's another guy lining up across from them that has gotten the best of them the last 4 times they've played. And if I'm Jim Schwartz in that defense, I look at what we've got to do to stop Dak Prescott and look what the last 3 teams have done to befuddle Dak Prescott. This is a chess match. And it's Prescott, this guy right here, trying to diagnose how to solve Schwartz. Fascinated by this matchup. Jim Schwartz is a man with a lot of pride, a lot of intellect. Nate, you played for him as a player. I think he's got a lot of fire to him. And this defense has been the laughing stock of the league the last week. The way that went down with Kirk Cousins, Diggs, and Thielen just going all over and scoring at will with them.
Yeah.
I think Jim Schwartz in this game, in a big Sunday night platform, steps up, and I think he gives Dak fits when he has to.
Not to mention 6 degrees of separation. He also coached Kellen Moore when he was in Detroit. So looking at the other sideline to a young guy.
A deeper dive.
That's great.
Who he picked up as a free agent. That's an interesting matchup. Let's see if Kellen Moore has his big boy pants on, because I know Mr. Schwartz, just like you said, he's going to bring it. His guys will be motivated.
Can Schwartz stop that Cowboys running game, though, Nate?
That's what I want to talk about.
Really?
Here's the thing. You got Ezekiel Elliott, who's an absolute beast, right? He's number 6 right now in the rushing attack. And I continue to call out Zeke, not because he isn't having a productive year, because he very much is. But I want him to do more. There was a conversation that I was privy to when I was playing with the Detroit Lions. Sean Jefferson, who was our wide receiver coach, he was talking to Calvin Johnson, and we had just came off a game, and he said, Calvin, it's early in the season. You had a good game. You had a $150, but we lost. I'm going to need you to do more. And I'm sitting back, and I'm thinking to myself, what more do you want Calvin to do? He said, you're going to have a 200, 300-yard game. And I'm like, what? And he said, he's literally talking to Calvin, and Calvin is very stoic, like he always is. He's not saying anything. And Sean Jefferson said, am I asking a lot? Yeah. But are you capable of it? And Calvin nodded his head. And that was the season that he went on to break Jerry Rice's record. So I'm approaching this the same way with Ezekiel Elliott. You're having a good year, but I need more. You guys remember that Zeke where he would take the team on his back and he would literally win the game for the Cowboys? That's what I'm not getting. And this is a message to Kellen Moore and Jason Garrett. You have to start feeding this monster, and not just enough to where he's around top 5 in the NFL.
Right.
I mean, a breakout game.
It's time, middle of the season.
It is time.
Let's go.
This is time where you ride your horses.
Without your offensive tackles, still?
And you still got to go do it. You
got the guards.
This isn't, and Peter, this isn't even about running in between the tackles. What happened to that prolific screen game?
Yeah.
They were one of the best in the NFL at one point, and they got away from that. What about getting them in motion and lining them up against linebackers and safeties? What about that? I need Ezekiel Elliott to have that game where we all look at him and say, there goes the best running back in football. That's what I need up against this run defense, who's number 2 in the NFL.
Well, for Philadelphia, I just need some lightning. I'm thinking about the Cowboys defense, and I'm thinking of Robbie Anderson going 92 yards right down the field. Philly doesn't have that. They just haven't had that at all because Deshaun goes out. He's been out for a long time. You look last week, Alshon played a really good game. He had 10 catches. He had 10 catches for 76 yards. It's just dink, dink, dink. There's no like finishing move. There's no sweet chin music or RKO or DDT. It's all very difficult in today's NFL to do it 6, 8, 12, 4 yards at a time. And I don't know if that comes from Aguilar or Miles Sanders out of the backfield, but it's tough to go through the season without any big play threat, and they don't have it. They don't have the Robbie Anderson play in them. We're seeing this, guys. This is week 1.
Yeah.
This feels like a different season, and we haven't seen him since.
Maybe soon. That's the hope.
Maybe soon.
You're calling him out on it.
I kind of am a little bit.
happening here?
And I'll tell you this. We've talked about this before. Doug Peterson loves a huge deep shot on the first drive of the game. You can go back and look at his game plans. He likes to throw it deep, even on the first play. They don't have that.
Matt Collins, maybe?
Maybe, Peter, if we're waiting for Matt Collins to show up, it's time. This is my point. On Sunday night, we need some lightning because I don't think they're going to win this game dinking and dunking and cloud of dust. Somebody's got to bust a big one.
We've got our pigskin pick of the weeks.
Grass-fed, organic, I don't know, something.
Fat-free
Tony
range.
Gonzalez eats.
Something Tony
eats clean.
Gonzalez eats. You were hanging out with Tony G last night.
How's Tony?
How was that?
Hey, Strager, you look good last
How was
night.
that?
Yeah.
Nice suit.
Thank you.
Interesting report to start your segment, too.
We talked about marijuana talks in
You
the
did.
CBA, and guess what? They're loosening things up. We'll
Is it
see
the
how
CBA or
goes.
the CBD? Which?
Okay, well, that's it. To commercial we go.
Sounds like a segment. What's up with DeAndre Hopkins? Well, hopefully he gets back to superstar status on